Well, the presidential race tightening as we get closer and closer to Election Day. We take a look at the polls, the swing states, and the swings in the numbers. Then President Obama ratcheting up his push for one Hillary Clinton. He's on the campaign trail, hammering Trump as well as the GOP. And he also has some strong words for the FBI director, James Comey. Also, the very latest on the Bridgegate trial, that at federal courthouse in Newark. The defense, they've asked the judge for a mistrial. We'll let you know how that played out. Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Thursday night. Well, election night, or election day, I should say, is just 5 days away, and everybody is happy about that. The polls, though, they're getting really close. New numbers out from the Times as well as CBS, and they show Hillary Clinton with a 3-point lead, and that is within, as they say, the margin of error. This poll, it was done after FBI Director James Comey's announcement that the Bureau was relooking at Clinton's emails. But 6 in 10 voters said that the 11-hour revelations about either candidate will in fact not sway their vote. And the Real Clear Politics average is also nearly dead even, Clinton leading that poll by less than 2 points. But Nate Silver, who's usually more right than wrong from 538, again, he picked 49 states correctly 4 years ago. He shows Hillary Clinton with a 65% chance of winning. I should mention that is down from 89% just from mid-October. The race, it will be won or lost in the swing states. We all know that. And Politico's average of 11 pivotal states shows that Hillary has a 3-point edge. And when you look at the map, she is leading in 8 of the 11 swing states. Trump, he's ahead only in Florida, Iowa, and Ohio, and in all those states it is close as well, and maybe that's why Trump is saying the following to his supporters.
Okay, ready? We're going to pretend we're down. We're down. Pretend, right? We'll pretend we're down. Now we got to win. We got to win big. We got to beat her.
Deep thoughts. Now, the Donald is also reminding himself to stay on message so he can stay out of trouble.
It's feeling like it already, isn't it? Just, we've got to be nice and cool, right? Stay on point, Donald, stay on point. No sidetracks, Donald, nice and easy.
Inside voice, inside voice. All right, let's bring in our panel right now. We're joined by Mike Morey. Mike's managing director at SKD Knickerbocker. Dominic Carter, you know, political journalist and author. Conservative strategist Bill O'Reilly, as we call him, the good one. And Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Can we all nod? This cannot come soon enough. Oh, my God.
Let's stay up all night for the last 5 days. Not.
No, exactly.
I don't think America can handle a recount or the House of Representatives getting involved or anything like that.
No. First off, Mike, was this inevitable? Forget about these two candidates. Is there always a narrowing? Was there ever really a 10-point margin between the two? Or did things really swing in the last 2 weeks that have nothing to do with the calendar, but because of the events that we've seen in the last 10 elections?
All races narrow at the end. Do I think that the Comey stuff had a huge impact? No. It did have an impact, and Republicans are coming home back to their nominee. But the spread that exists now is still a little wider than existed at this point in the race, Obama versus Romney. These numbers represent sort of where presidential campaigns have been for the last several cycles. We're in a polarized country. There's a slight Democratic advantage nowadays at a presidential level. I don't think that what you're seeing is anything dramatic numbers-wise in 2016 versus 2012. I think we have unique candidates. We have a Democratic candidate who has been in politics for a very long time and comes with a lot of baggage. A Republican candidate who's never been in politics and comes with even more baggage. So all of that aside, though, these numbers are actually, for Hillary Clinton, she's trending a little bit better than Barack Obama did in 2012 at this point. They seem to, conform to traditional races every 4 years.
Our memories are short.
They are.
Really, 4 years ago?
At this point in the race, I think the Real Clear Politics average was somewhere around 1% between the two. So for her to be 2 to 3%, it's trending a little bit better, in fact. And in the swing states in particular, her margins, North Carolina, are a little bit better. Where she is in Florida is a little bit better right now.
Although Hurricane Sandy had just come through 4 years ago.
Yes, true.
Which affected the polls quite a bit.
True.
The gut, Bill, is it that momentum, it's always dangerous when you pivot from there, but that is there really, I looked at the enthusiasm gap. It seems to be narrowing. In fact, I think she's up a little bit or not. Do you see Republicans who held their nose, or guys like you who said, I just can't go there, I just can't cross this bridge? Are any of them changing their minds when you talk to them?
Some of them are, but they've been doing that for a bunch of months. And I think Mike is right, where the enthusiasm is back. But, I mean, Donald Trump this year is that trick candle that just refuses to blow out. You figure this is the last time that can be relit. I mean, there's just no way. And then it gets relit again. And so, yeah, there's enthusiasm there. Whether there's a lack of enthusiasm on the Democratic side, I don't know. I think if you really want to know who's going to win the election, you're better off asking a cab driver than a political consultant. I mean, I think a cab driver will give you a straight answer.
And I'll get to what people believe the key demographic here, which is the African-American vote, in a second, Andrew. But when you look at the map, and we love poker analogies on this show, but he's got to draw an inside straight here. He's got to literally win every swing state here and pick off a couple more. I mean, people don't want to hear that, but the way the popular vote is, yeah, maybe he's even with her at the end of the day, or maybe it's really close. But the states that she already has put in the bank versus the ones that he's got to cover, it's really tough, right?
Yeah, and most reasonable scenarios for Trump to get to the White House involve him winning Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina. And as you can see from the map there, he's losing in North Carolina, and Florida is basically a toss-up. Virginia, I'll throw Pennsylvania into that mix too, where he is also still trailing, despite that lead having shrunk down. So she's still sort of got the blue wall, as it's been known, in play. That's why he was in Wisconsin. That's why he was in Michigan this week, trying to chip away. He's going to have to pick up states where she's leading, and he thinks he can do that in the industrial Midwest. But it remains to be seen. But yeah, it's going to have to be something of a perfect storm for him. And the other thing is, North Carolina and Florida will know they close fairly early on election night, and Pennsylvania as well. So if those states go to Clinton early in the night, it's an even more difficult poll for Trump to win the White House.
Yeah, I think if Florida goes, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
And
You
at
can
this
make
point,
argument any of
North
those
Carolina,
states.
I think 40% of North Carolina has already voted.
Right.
And on
Early
early voters, she's actually, I think, double digits on early voters. Now, she won't do so well on election day, but look, at the end of the day, you're right. I mean, the blue wall, her safety net is so wide, so wide. Donald Trump has to have a near perfect night. It's going to be really hard for him.
And I love Don where he's asking people, hey, in Wisconsin, you can change your mind. If you voted early, you can go back. The amount of people who just want this thing to be over, the idea that you're going to vote twice, talk about, it's fun. All right, but Tom, there was always this Bradley effect that was discussed here, which was that, just as people may or may not remember, the then Los Angeles candidate who was African-American, that the polls said he'd win going away, but after they were all tallied, he lost because people wouldn't admit to the pollster that they had biases or whatever, wouldn't vote for him. In this particular case, it's flipped, which is Republicans that were polled wouldn't admit to the pollster that they'll vote for Donald Trump. Now, there was a new study that just came out that said that's not true. What's your sense? If anybody isn't being represented in the numbers enough, do you think it is Trump voters? Or do you think by now everybody's made up their mind? And if you're undecided, I almost don't want your vote. How could you not know by now who you're voting for?
Well, what I'm afraid of, Richard, is that there are some people out there that won't admit. The folks that come up to me in the supermarket and whisper in my ear, and they say, hey, I'm with Trump. That's what I'm worried about. I agree with the assessment that's been put forth on the table. The electoral math plays definitely to Hillary Clinton. She appears to be headed to victory, but he's got the momentum. And I don't care what pollsters say, because half of them have it wrong. You can't measure someone's energy in terms of their supporters. So we don't know exactly. In other words, the Bradley effect. Oh, we're going to vote for the black guy. You go into the booth, you don't vote for the black guy. Oh, we hate Trump. We don't like what he says. You go into the booth. Who knows what will happen?
But there's also the possibility of a reverse effect of that on Trump voters, particularly women in Republican households who, their husband is voting for Trump and maybe they don't admit to a pollster on a phone call that they're actually going to vote for Hillary or vote for somebody else, and yet they turn in the polling booth and they do. So
where the husband doesn't want the wife to hear
right
that he's voting for Trump.
Right. So we may get some of that on both sides of the Trump aisle. Less so, I think, on Hillary's. I think you're less likely to have people, misleading pollsters when it comes to Hillary.
What was interesting was we saw surrogates out on the trail, but pretty much for Trump, it's his family. And then you have a whole cavalcade of notable Democrats out there for Hillary Clinton. Now, President Obama, he's trying to help Hillary close out Donald Trump. Now, when we come back, we're going to play for you not just what he said here, but also what he has to say about the FBI and the Grand Ole Party as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.